A lot of people think that measles is just a rash and it's just a slight temperature, but 1 in 15 children will go on to receive secondary infections that can include meningitis, encephalitis, septicemia, pneumonia, soreness on the brain, and the list goes on. I shared my story on Facebook because I'd been seeing a lot of anti-vax posts around and a lot of scaremongering, and I thought I would show the other side of the effects, that it's actually just as scary to not vaccinate your children and that this could be your child. I think social media has so much to answer for in scaremongering parents. I think you really need to research where your information is coming from. Don't just take it for fact. If you really, really want to know about something, just call your midwife, go and speak to your nurse. He was 11 months old and we went Christmas shopping and woke up the next day and I noticed his feet had a rash on them, and he woke up quite tearful, quite cryy, and he normally babbled to himself, and then I changed his nappy and I noticed the rash went from in between his toes to the top of his head. So I called 111 and they sent me to an out-of-hours doctor's. It was on a Sunday, and actually at the doctor's they said that it was a viral rash and sent us away. And then on the Monday it was going like brownie colour, and so I went to my doctor where she then sent us on to hospital, and had written a letter to say that it was suspected measles. And when we got there, we were straight away put in a room on our own where it was clinically diagnosed as measles. When we were discharged from hospital, we had to remain inside for 5 days, and we had Public Health England call in. Like, I think we got home at midnight and Public Health England were calling me, and they said that they needed a list of people that we'd been near, a list of places that we had been, a list of children, anybody under the age of 1, anybody that wasn't vaccinated, anyone that was pregnant. And it was probably about 40 questions I think they asked me. And then in the morning they called again, and then they had a courier come to my house with swab tests. I couldn't understand why they were taking it so seriously. I didn't really understand. I thought, like, he's got this rash, the hospital didn't keep him in, like, he's home, Calpol. You know, they didn't even give me a cream to put on his skin. I just thought, it's just, you know, I didn't really understand. I was just very naive to what it was. And then 12 days later, we realised why. It was just before his first birthday, and so I was going out to make his birthday cake. And so my mum came over to watch him, and I had an absolutely hysterical phone call to say that Levi was convulsing. So the ambulance turned up, and they straight away said that they were going to blue light him to hospital. I heard in the front of the ambulance that they called ahead to say that they had a baby with suspected sepsis, and we got to the hospital and there was probably about 11 doctors and nurses standing waiting for us, and they took him straight away. They put cannulas, drips, antibiotics, and they wheeled him back through like the A&E paediatric waiting area, and I just remember everybody's eyes kind of almost like my condolences. We then got on the ward. He had a convulsion in front of the doctor where he just kind of went limp, floppy. He went stiff, his eyes rolled to the side, and then he was extremely miserable. He had x-rays of his chest for pneumonia. He had the lumbar puncture for meningitis. He had the EEGs for soreness or irritability to his brain, for encephalitis. He had a partial septic screen. The list went on of what he had going on in his tiny little body. Every 20 minutes he was having either temperatures, Calpol, antibiotics orally, antibiotics through drips. He had a cannula in his foot, he had a cannula in his hand. And I know that they were saving his life, but he just wanted to scream at everybody to go away. After his near on week in hospital, he just couldn't walk. His legs just buckled beneath him, and he had to completely learn to do it again. Kind of started off by cruising at home, and he was very unnerved by it. And sleep-wise, where they'd prodded him every 20 minutes, I think he was used to just jump-starting awake and screaming. So he had a kind of bad couple of weeks sleep until he got used to, actually, this is back in my bed, back where I am, and no one's going to prod and stab me in the middle of the night. I spoke to the nurse and I said I was scared. I said I was worried, why I was worried, and she completely reassured me. She gave me facts. She told me There's certain bits of evidence that I produced to her. She said they're completely false, but she really, really reassured me. He had a slight temperature when we got home. Calpol, I kept him in bed with me just because I was a bit scared. In the morning, not even a temperature, not even a sore leg. I hope people will feel moved by mine and Levi's story. It was an experience that no parent should ever go through or a child should go through, and that when you don't vaccinate, there is a victim on the other end of that. Please help to spread the word and vaccinate your children.